Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
What is up, and welcome in. We are the One and Done Show. We are your fast break of college basketball information. I am your host, Eric Romoff. You can catch me on those Twitter streets at FantasyNav, and he is the captain of our ship. He is MC Holland34 on Twitter. He is Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, how you feeling on a Saturday? How you feeling with a little birthday week action in play?
Hey, man, I'm ready for a fun and exciting weekend. I'm excited to talk about Portal Madness, Portal Combat, right? Is that where I guess that's what one guy calls it. But exactly.
Get over here.
Yeah, just trying to keep up with it. And we're gonna all this stuff just happened basically within the last 48 hours that we're going to cover again. So appreciate everybody tuning in. I am excited because I did get some of that new fire here, that new one and done fire.
Salute.
Yeah,
coming soon to a store near you.
Hot off the press. I love this logo, man. It's beautiful. But yeah, working on updating the 250 board. We got some new entrants. I'll have some written notes on drroto.com. That'll be out on Monday.
It will be out on Monday, like we talked about in the last show. A couple of people that were chilling at the back of that list, they're on the outside looking in now. So hopefully they took some screenshots. They believe in themselves enough to maybe play their way onto some different lists as we get into the regular season. But I would be remiss if I did not also call attention to the captain of the not so aforementioned Green Screens Media train, the king of the tepid take, Dr. William Cannon on Twitter, Jay Heinrich. Welcome in, Jay. We'll clear out. You got the floor. Except with me.
You know, not the captain, but yet the conductor over here in Vita, of course, and the king of the tepid take, as you mentioned. Happy to be here tonight. You know, Mike and I were on the screen last time around and giving people, you know, news that these commits had made within the last 24 hours. You know, it's been 48 since we last talked, and we've got a whole slew of names that we need to talk about today. Excited to be here tonight to give the people what they want. Let's roll, baby.
Give them what they want, including the correct titles, the conductor.
By the way, if you didn't know, in addition to these portal shows that we're doing, we got coaches interviews. We got more coaches interviews coming down the pike. Loyola Marymount head coach Stan Johnson on Tuesday, just rolling through these coaches, Eric. I mean, it's some fantastic stuff. We're getting some great interviews, some great talks with these coaches. So not only do you get the portal stuff from One and Done and Green Screens Media, not only do you get Mike's top 250 over at drroto.com, soon to be top 775, we also got these coaches interviews coming up. So make sure you smash those subscribe buttons so you know when those shows are coming up and you don't miss any of those interviews and any of these portal shows.
Yeah, smash that subscribe button. Hit the bell while you're at it. We're out here seemingly at all hours. We try to keep a pretty consistent schedule, but every now and again we'll sprinkle in a middle of the day Wednesday show on you. And usually those are our coaching interviews, right? So make sure you got that bell smashed so that you don't miss any of the times that we're going live. But today specifically, both of you guys mentioned it a minute ago, we're here not that long ago talking about some of the latest from around the Portal Combat. And because a single minute has passed, that means that all of that information is now a little bit old. We got 10 of the newest commits from the last 48 hours. Every single day, we're finding out where guys are going to head for next season. We've also got 5 new guys to enter into the portal, and we're going to close out tonight's show talking about 5 impact down transfers, some guys that are heading into the mid or lower mid-major ranks and really trying to get their opportunity there. So let's kick right off with those new commits. Mike, you want to start us off with number 45 from your big...
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go ahead and talk about Jalen Deloach here, the forward for VCU. He's 6'9", 215. Man, real athletic. He's a Georgia native, so he is committed to Georgia. He's got a real high motor. He's a good rebounder, good shot blocker. He can play with his back to the basket. He can also space the floor. So this is a really nice get here as we pull up our beautiful graphics team here awesome job with this as always. But yeah, Deloach in that VCU squad obviously made the tournament. Coach headed out there and is now at Penn State. So all these guys jumped into the portal. Seems like we're doing a VCU update from their roster last year once a week. And yeah, Deloach is a fun guy to watch. He's someone you can throw lobs to, a rim runner, someone that can, protect the rim. So, Georgia's in need of some added athleticism down low, and I think he's going to provide just that.
Yeah, certainly feels like a nice get there for the Bulldogs. And cleaning up a comment from a moment ago, it's 145 as opposed to 45th. Moving a little bit higher up that list to the 106 spot. Jay, tell us who is selected their new home out of the transfer portal.
Yeah, former Dayton Flyer, Mustapha Amzil, 6'9", 225-pound forward, just over 9 points, almost 5 boards a game last season. Shot 37% from three. Is now committed to New Mexico. Just all these Patinos in the transfer portal landing anybody that they want, which is, I guess, to be expected there. Amzil's a stretch forward, can guard multiple positions, brings that flexibility. And the thing that intrigues me the most about this is it pairs really nicely with Nelly Jr. Joseph coming over from Iona, of all places, who, this is like Nelly Jr. Joseph, banger, not going to necessarily get those, a ton of those outside shots. Amzil comes in and can be a knockdown shooter, come in and play with those teammates, House and Mashburn on the pick and pop. Really solid pickup here for Coach Patino out in New Mexico.
Yeah, both of the Patinos are getting busy here in the portal over the last few weeks, right? Kind of a slow start for each of them, but have each made some impact acquisitions. And obviously Amzil is the latest on the list for New Mexico. Mike, number 96 on your board, has chosen his new home for the upcoming season. Tell the people what they need to know.
Yeah, I probably have him a little lower than most places, but Hakim Hart, the 6'8" guard / wing from Maryland, has decided to head home, and he's committed to Villanova. You're seeing a lot of home themes recently. A lot of guys going back or playing near where they were born. He's a Philly native. I mean, great size and length, right? I mean, 6'8", 205. He's just been someone that, Maryland's counted on over the last 2 to 3 years. He believes that Coach Neptune can get him ready for the next level. He's an adequate replacement, right, for Cam Whitmore. We know Whitmore's obviously going to be a first-round draft pick. But, getting an experienced guy in there, I think is really going to help this Villanova squad. And one thing, he's an underrated passer, and he can get his hand in the passing lane. So, really good job here by Coach Neptune. After last year, you got Justin Moore coming back, Eric Dixon's back, and now you add Hakim Hart to the mix to go along with Bamba from Washington State. So a really solid job here. And they're going to be a power in the Big East. It's going to be a battle in the Big East for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, not only should they be a power, they're kind of shaping up like everyone's kind of sleeper team from the conference. I mean, obviously, long road playing in the same league as the defending champion, but Coach Neptune definitely adding some key pieces by way of the transfer portal so far. Next player up on our board is Kario Oquendo, the 6'4", 200-pound guard, formerly out of Georgia. He has committed over to the Oregon Ducks. Last year as a Bulldog, 12.6 points per game, about 2.5 boards. I mean, this is a kid that is crazy athletic overall. He can really attack the rim. He's got kind of an aggressive streak in him whenever he's got the ball in his hands. So, feels like he's someone that can heat up real quick. If we're trying to find some areas of concern, he does struggle a little bit from three, but ultimately he's a reliable piece. He's started the last 2 years in a pretty tough SEC, so should be able to give a nice little boost to head coach Dana Altman and the Ducks. Oquendo is coming in at number 82 on Mike's big board, taking a pretty significant jump up that big board all the way to the number 35 player. Mike, tell us about Avery Anderson.
Yeah, Avery Anderson, man, like a really, really solid guard out of Oklahoma State. He's 6'2", 170, averaged 11 points, 3 boards, 3 assists last year, and another get for TCU. Doing a great job here, head coach Jamie Dixon, right? I mean, he's going to pair in the backcourt here with Jameer Nelson Jr. I mean, what can you say? The guy's basically been a starter for the last 3 years in the Big 12. You just talked about Oquendo being a 2-year starter in the SEC. I mean, Anderson arguably starting for a borderline tournament type team for the last 3 years. Someone that can create his own shot, and he can also get others involved. I mean, he's an underrated passer. He's a decent rebounder for his size. So TCU is loading up. They're going to have one of the deepest teams in the country at this point. I mean, they're absolutely racking it in with guys coming back, as well as the big time addition of Jameer Nelson Jr. is going to be a lot of fun, and then Avery Anderson joining this mix. We'll see what they're able to do if they can make all the pieces fit. But this is a great start here for TCU.
Yeah, it feels like TCU is going to be a lot to deal with in that new look Big 12 next year. I don't know if either of you have particular thoughts. Obviously, we're still prior to May 11th, so rosters are very much so in flux. But for me, it seems like TCU kind of sees an opportunity opening up here in the conference and is really trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be tough to figure out what's happening, right? We still got 1,000 guys to make their decisions. Exactly. So, but I mean, this type of talent, right, Jay, is going to be. I mean, Texas doesn't even have barely fields a starting lineup right now. So, it's still a lot of work to be done.
You know that part of Pulp Fiction where John Travolta is just looking around like he's lost? That's what I'm doing right now, waiting for Rodney Terry to make a move and get somebody onto this roster from the portal.
I think he's looking for Jay Heinrich in the portal, man.
Well, I do have some eligibility left. I can probably give him 8 solid minutes a night, 2 4-minute bursts. I got the dimes. I've always had the vision. I could shoot. I could stroke the 3 a little bit from the top of the key. That's my spot. But TCU has done a really, really nice job. Jamie Dixon is showing you the playbook right now into how to attack this portal. And I agree with you, Eric, that they're go ahead and taking care of business and getting things done. And yeah, Mike, like you said, they're going to be somebody to have to pay attention to in this Big 12.
Coach Terry, if you are watching, and we know you are, renowned breadhead, pretty solid pitch for Jay Heinrich there. He can get you 8 good minutes, little wet from the outside, can soak up some fouls for you. Sounds like the missing piece for this Longhorn squad. So
hey,
Terry, if you need, I can hook you up. I know this guy.
I can chip. I can dip. I got it in me. Call me. Hit me up, Coach. Hit me. You see my Twitter right there. Slide in. We'll make it happen.
When Jay Heinrich enters the transfer portal and takes advantage of that last year of eligibility, probably is a candidate to end up pretty high on Mike's big board, might bump a few people out of the top 250 list. But right now, the remaining 5 players we're going to talk about are damn near the tippy top of that list. So, Jay, why don't you kick us off with Mike's number 18 player who has now chosen his new destination?
Yeah, CAA Player of the Year out of Hofstra, Aaron Estrada, 6'3" guard. Is committed to Alabama. Obviously, a team that did not lack for talent last season. And the rich get richer. A guy that averaged over 20 points per game, 5.5 boards, and over 4 assists a game for that Hofstra team. I mean, yeah, okay. So the only thing that I'm looking at is, okay, this is his 4th school that he's been through. He was at St. Peter's, then Oregon, then Hofstra, and now going to Alabama. If you look at that as a downfall, okay, but whatever he's going to bring to Alabama, even if they get 16 and 4, and I could see his assists even rising a little bit on that Alabama team. Super versatile guard that's going to be able to get others involved. Obviously, can rebound the ball well, and you don't average 20 points a game in college basketball because you can't score. I mean, this is somebody that there's a reason that he's ranked so high in this top 250, number 18 on Mike's board over at drroto.com. A great get for Alabama. And just, again, the rich get richer.
Yeah, Alabama, a team that obviously has a couple of holes to fill on this roster. So Estrada comes in and should plug up at least some of those for Coach Oates. We don't have to go far on Mike's big board to find our next player. Cruise all the way up to one spot ahead of this, number 17, Mike. Tell us about that number 17 player on your big board.
Man, a flurry of commitments this this last couple of days. And, Dalton Knecht, someone that burst onto the scene last year, a forward, more of a wing from Northern Colorado. He's 6'6", 200 pounds, averaged 20 points, 7 rebounds, shot 38% from three. That doesn't really sound like someone that is heading to a school like Tennessee, but he is. I mean, he's special offensively. This is another awesome get for Coach Rick Barnes. It looks like he's trying to inject some more life into that offense. You have Vescovi coming back. Picked up some other portal pieces here. And, the thing about Knecht is, like, we put on the tape, like, some of these mid-majors guys maybe lack in athleticism. I mean, this guy's an above-average athlete. We saw the three-point percentage nearly 40%. There's some questions defensively, but you think if you play for a Rick Barnes team, like, he's going to figure out a way to make you play some defense. And, he's just a guy that bursts onto the scene. And this is an incredible offensive get for sure for Tennessee here.
Man, I am putting that bright orange tee for Tennessee on a lot of graphics lately. Rick Barnes has been getting after it in the portal, and it seems like he's really prioritizing the offensive side a bit, right? Obviously, we like to poke fun how, the Volunteers are out there winning games, by scoring 50, 52 points. Maybe they walk that up to like 55 or 60 and are a force to be reckoned with, right? So Dalton Knecht can definitely drain it and should be a nice pop on the offense for those Vols. The next player on our board is number 14. That's Graham Ike, the forward out of Wyoming. I was looking at the standings there for that conference last year. Is such a head scratcher how Wyoming ended up in last place out there in the West. But as that team starts to follow this exodus path that Jay sang about last show, Ike's made his way over to Gonzaga. He's part of a really big couple of days here for the Bulldogs. Last year, Ike was injured oft. Overall, he's a super solid scorer, nearly 20 points per game, nearly 10 boards per game back in 21 and 22. And he's looking for a bounce back, right? He had that leg injury last year. So he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder, wanting to go out there and prove himself for the Zags. He was a preseason Mountain West Player of the Year last season. So, he's obviously got the polish and the recruiting grade to really be an impact player on the court. And, obviously replacing Drew Timme is a tall order in general. But in terms of, how he approaches the games and the things you're looking for from the guy that's going to step in behind him, I mean, it feels like Ike is one that's bringing a lot of those components, right? He's a banger down low. He's kind of crafty. He's kind of got that rec center game, right? So definitely an interesting fit and definitely a big part of a solid amount of momentum that Gonzaga has been building over the last few days. We will move on or up this big board into the single digits. Our number 7 player, Mike, what's going on with Harrison Ingram? Where's he heading?
Yeah, Harrison Ingram, number 7 on the big board here. Man, it's really hard he's more of a positionless guy, man. He's 6'7", 230. He's a big dude, but he can play point forward. He can play wing. There's not a lot the guy can't do. Averaged almost 11 points, almost 6 rebounds, and almost 4 assists a game at his size. So, he's a great passer. Obviously, has a high IQ. He's a former McDonald's All-American. Stop if you've heard that before. It seems like a lot of former McDonald's All-Americans just trying to find the right fit. And speaking of fit, I think that when you look at what North Carolina has done, like Hubert Davis, right, the NBA, it seems like he knows what he's doing here, treating it like a GM, seeing the weaknesses last year, knowing that he needs to play through Baycott, knowing that Davis needs to be the primary facilitator. We just talked about Cormac Ryan, Paxton Wojcik, even Jalen Withers is a good 3-point shooter. They have those 3 guys committed as shooters from, that can play the 2 through 4 spots there. And now Harrison Ingram, you put him next to Armando Bacot, and that is a pretty good 4-5 combination because Harrison Ingram can play on the perimeter, and you can run 4-5 pick and roll. He can even play the 3. Like, there are just so many different ways that Ingram fits with the Bacot Davis combination and the shooter spread around. I think I saw Rothstein had them still outside the top 25, and I'm like, man, this team should like, this is going to be a drastically different looking team, man. Like, I love this for like a top 20-ish, maybe even as high as like 15. And I just think he identified exactly what was going to happen. Any other thoughts on that, Jay?
I don't understand how he has them that low. I don't get it. I totally agree with you here. Like, this is a top 20 team off the bat next year. Yeah, I get that everything didn't, exactly. We were expecting a lot more out of them this past season than we got, obviously. I just look at this roster, though, and now adding Ingram. That's the boost that they got with adding Ingram. I just think they're going to be a better team than that next year. But we thought they were going to be better this year, too. So I guess there's something to be said about that. But that's what a get for Davis and the Tar Heels.
I think that's exactly it, right? I think people are feeling a little snake bit with their meteoric drop from preseason number 1 to pretty much punchline by the end of the year, right? So probably a little hyperbolic. Everything on paper looks to be stacking up and pointing in the right direction for these Tar Heels. And Ingram playing that point forward spot is just that he's that key kind of versatility piece that can really make it all come together. So a lot to be excited about for those Heels. Another team feeling pretty excited, one I talked about just a moment ago. Those are the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Jay, tell them about the second big splash they made here in the last few days.
Talk about rich getting richer. This is when I should have saved that line for this cat. Ryan Nembhard is somebody that we played a lot in DFS last year for Creighton. He was a really big contributor to that excellent. That was a really, really good team last season. And Nembhard was a huge part of that. 12 points a game, 4 boards, almost 5 dimes. He was their floor general, and that's what he's going to bring to Gonzaga. Gonzaga fans, if you recognize that last name, that's because his brother played at Gonzaga. So, Ryan now taking the opportunity to go out and play on the West Coast here, where his brother played. Obviously, Crafty can score from all 3 levels. Dishes out those dimes all the time. A really, really great pick and roll player too. So again, giving you more options. So if Ike, Eric, like you were talking about, that big, that could just get the job done. And it's really a shame to touch on Wyoming quickly. That's another team that had high expectations last season with Hunter Maldonado, Ike, and that crew. And then there were just so many injuries, Ike included in that. To see him on the court now next year, hopefully fully healthy, him and Nembhard, that's just going to be an absolute, what a haul out there for them. And don't
forget,
also shoots. Go ahead.
I say don't forget Steele Venters too. We talked a lot about him. He's coming in too, going to play that 3-man role. So sorry to cut you off, but we can't forget. Like it wasn't too long ago we were talking about like man, Gonzaga got Venters. This is a good start, and now he's like kind of an afterthought because you rack up 2 top 15 guys.
What a time to be alive out there.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah, with the nice start with Venters, and now over the last 2 or 3 days, 2 top 15 guys like you mentioned in Nembhard and Ike. I know last time the 2 of you were here on the air, we went through some of the biggest winners in the transfer portal. I mean, in light of these 2 huge gets, Mike, is Gonzaga now at the top of this list? Or are you still liking some of these other transfer classes a bit more?
Yeah, Gonzaga's. You do worse than the 2 of our top 15, especially a 4 general. Especially because Ike is about as good as you're going to get as a low post threat, replacing Timmy there. So I think Tennessee, right, Jay? They're looking pretty salty with what they're doing offensively. And then North Carolina, I look at it and I'm like, man, these teams know what they're doing. They're addressing their needs. We highlighted 4 teams the other day We're going to be highlighting some of these teams in the future, so stick around for that. Jay, any thoughts on some of these teams we just talked about as far as portal winners?
Adapt or die.
Yeah.
And that's what Rick Barnes is doing. He's choosing to adapt and finding these offensive players in the portal to add to that defensive mindset that he brings out there in Tennessee. That's a team to watch next season. That was a team to watch this season, And we joked a lot about them winning games 42 or 52. I mean, they would try to win 140 with 42 points if you let them. But I mean, we joked about them winning 52 to 48. Well, Rick Barnes sees that, and I don't think they'll lose that defensive mentality, but the offensive firepower that they're bringing in through the portal, they are near or at the top of my portal winners.
Yeah,
to say the least.
I was a little shocked about Knecht like that. I did not see that. I didn't really see that as a match, but I didn't really see Chris Ledlam, who was thought to be going to Indiana, the Harvard kid who averaged 20 points and 8 rebounds, more of an offensive type player. That's two really, really good mid-major offensive players. We'll see how they adjust going to the SEC, right? I think Knecht has a better chance because he's more athletic. But, you can't discount Jordan Gainey, too, coming over from SC Upstate. I mean, he averaged 15 points per game, and that was a really fun offense. And he's a 6'4", slasher and can shoot from the outside. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of cool to see Rick Barnes adapting, right? I mean, he needed some offense. He's going out and getting offense. You're getting Vescovi back. This is a team to watch out for.
And Estrada's game, I think, has the capability to adjust a little bit to the SEC in terms of him being more of a distributor. I don't think they're going to rely on him to have to score 20 points a game on that Alabama team. So I think that what we are going to see is that scoring might not translate, but I think this is a guy that could average 6.5, 7 assists per game next year for Alabama.
Yeah, from my vantage point, and maybe this is an oversimplification, it felt like last year a lot of coaches were treating the transfer portal almost like a game of musical chairs, right? Like they just wanted to get someone before the music stopped. This year, it feels like people are being laser focused in the type of guys that go out and acquire. So you have teams that are obviously stacking up 2, 3, 4 guys and taking the volume play, but almost universally, at least the teams that we're talking about as the early winners of the portal are really going out there and getting tailor-made pieces. So ton of fun to watch for those teams that are not yet talked about amongst the winners of the transfer portal. It's not too late for them. And by and large, because guys are still entering into the portal day after day, let's switch gears here and talk about the 5 top guys that jumped into the portal over these last few days. And let's kick it off here with the number 70 on your big board, Mike, Tre White.
Yeah, this one was surprising. USC, I don't know if this has anything to do with Bronny James potentially coming. It just kind of came out of the blue, right? We'll see what really happens here. I mean, this guy, he's 6'7", 210. He was a high 4-star recruit. I mean, really showed flashes last year, some star power. I don't know, man. Like, this one's kind of weird. It feels like he can kind of go anywhere. He's part of the all Pac-12 freshman team here. And, man, like, he's just a versatile player on both sides of the court. Has a size and length just really sticks out, and he's a high-level recruit. He's going to be chased by everybody across the country here, and he could really be a game changer, which is why he's inside of our top 100. I like the move here, Tre White. I don't know if I should have maybe gotten him a little bit higher. It would be, depending on opportunity, I wouldn't be surprised if he's someone that we look back and was like, hey, maybe a top 50, type guy. So, yeah, Tre White in the portal. So we'll see who goes out and gets him.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Right, he feels like a guy that if he lands in the right spot, can play his way into a higher finish than where we have him ranked. Right, it feels like if he gets into that right circumstance, things could really break his way. Moving down the list here, number 155 on the big board. The transfer coming in from Kentucky. Jay, tell everyone about the big man sitting at 155.
Speaking about guys that could end up finishing higher as we go back and look at this list after the fact, Daimion Collns, the 6'9", 210-pound forward out of Kentucky. Again, stop us if you've heard this before, a former 5-star McDonald's All-American, but it's Kentucky. hard to get on the floor sometimes. Not really much else you can say about that. 2 points, 2 boards a game, didn't get the run. But what we do know about him, big-time athlete, explosive dunker, can jump out of the gym. Word is he might be moving closer to home in Texas to be with family. So that could be something to pay attention to as he drops. If he's one of those guys that drops a top 12 or a top 36 or whatever these guys are doing nowadays on the tweeter worlds. But
I love when they drop a top 20 and then like they go in and there's like they keep adding like 4 more teams. It's how it feels like when I put my transfer portal together.
Blessed to get another offer from wherever, our sisters of the poor. But yeah, like I said, super breakout candidate here for next year, depending on the landing spot and the run that he can get. This is a guy that dealt with some adversity last year too. His dad passed away in November. That may have affected things a little bit on the mental side, but this is a basketball player that is looking for a fresh start. The pedigree is there. The athleticism is there. Like I said, can jump out of the gym, and it'll be really, really interesting to see that landing spot, the fit, what he feels like will be the best fit for him, because I think there's a lot of sort of unscratched potential, unsurfaced potential, however you want to put it.
Jay, Jay, you know what it reminds me of? Like, it kind of reminds me of Bryce Hopkins last year in the transfer portal. Maybe a little more, a little more star power around Bryce, right? But then he goes to Providence and becomes their best player and absolutely broke out. I would say he's one of the top. If you had to list 5 breakout players from last year, Bryce Hopkins wasn't getting any run really. With Kentucky, they had Keon Brooks playing the 4, and then he transferred out from Washington. You saw Daimion Collns there. Sheboy takes up 40 minutes at the 5. And yeah, same situation. I mean, Hopkins was a high-level recruit. So Collins could end up somewhere and completely explode onto the scene. I think Bryce is a little bit better, scorer. Collins more of like your defensive player, rebounder, going to be able to get to the rim on pick and roll. So yeah, there's an absolute chance that this guy absolutely burst onto the scene. I wonder if Texas is involved. It might come down to Texas, Houston. TCU is probably going to be involved if the rumors are true. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, look, we spend enough time dunking on UT in this transfer portal window, but if that home cooking is a call-in, I'm pretty sure the two of you would be pretty happy to see Collins suit up in that burnt orange. So definitely a name to watch, and obviously he's got the pedigree coming from a school like Kentucky. Our next player on the board, 163rd overall, coming in from Georgia Tech. Mike, what are the people needing to know about Deivon Smith?
Yeah, Smith is 6'1", 175, and man, what an interesting year for this kid. Like, he probably should be higher on the list, but I struggle because he's not a great shooter. First of all, he's got great speed and explosiveness. He's a triple-double threat when he gets minutes. Dare I say, not the caliber, quite the caliber athlete as a Russell Westbrook type, but he's that type of guy. Like, you just pop it on, and he's someone that can give you, 12 points, like 8 rebounds and 7 assists in a 30-minute type game. So, man, it's going to be interesting. These guys that we're talking about have major potential to kind of either burst onto the scene or, just find the right fit for them that allows them and their talents to shine. I think with Smith, if he ends up somewhere with a bunch of shooters, right, like he could be absolutely lethal. Even a stretch 4 or 5 with him. So it kind of opens up the lane for him to create havoc. He's a player that I really, really like. I think he just has so much upside. Obviously a great rebounder, and just gets guys involved. And he had some pretty impressive games last year. So looking forward to see what Smith does and how he kind of translates in his move from Georgia Tech.
Yeah, there were definitely a couple of times where we saw Smith pop last year. So hopefully wherever he decides is a place that can kind of accentuate that skill set, and he can have more of those big games than not. The number 232nd player on the big board, Ali, the forward out of Butler, 6'8", 205 pounds, a repeat offender here. If you recall, he transferred into Butler after a big season 2 years ago with Akron, think he was inside the top 100 on your board last year, and it was kind of a hot and cold season for Ollie at Butler, right? 6.5 points, almost 3 boards, about an assist and a half per game. There were times where it seemed like he was kind of getting acclimated to to this higher level and higher caliber of game, and then he would just kind of disappear for a bit, right? There were a couple of injuries that were in the mix there, so it's that has to be accounted for. But on his face, he's a player. Looking back at a time at Akron, that's a solid 2-way player. The big question for Ollie is he going to stay here in kind of the high majors ranks, or is he potentially one of these guys that is looking to jump back down and assume a larger role? So interesting name to watch overall. He's obviously shown some things at the college level, which needs to be accounted for wherever he lands. Last guy here of our top 5 that just entered in the last 48 hours, 242J. Tell the people who is coming out of Oregon.
Yeah, Quincy Guerrier from. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, let me track this one down real quick.
Thank you.
Because this guy, I got some opinions on this guy. Quincy Guerrier, man, 6'8", 220. Like, he's tough to really break down. Like, started his career at Syracuse. He was pretty good there. Looked like he was going to be an impact player when he transferred. Comes to Oregon, and Oregon has so many bigs. We talked about Kello Ware, right? Transferring, just really didn't get any minutes. I'm not sure how when you are a projected lottery pick. And then you have N'Faly Dante there. He decides to come back. There was just so much going on with Oregon last year as far as their big rotation. Guerrier still averaged 9 points, 5 rebounds, shot 35% from 3. He's going into his 5th season, so he's gonna bring whatever team he chooses experience. I think he has a chance to stay at the Power 5 level. Jay, he's a stretch shooter and can block shots. You kind of need that at the Power 5, right, Jay?
Yeah, I wanted to just say about him, like, this is a guy who's probably not ever going to be a star.
Yeah.
Show those flashes at Syracuse early on in his career, but this is the guy that can come in and give you 18 to 20 a night in the right situation and really contribute in multiple areas for your team. I don't like to use the word Swiss Army knife for him, but I do think that he can contribute in a lot of different ways. If he does stay at a Power 5 on the Power 5 level, I think that's sort of what we're looking at, like maybe 16 to 18 minutes, maybe 20 minutes a night for the right team. And can really contribute, bring those skills to the right situation and be a big contributor. So it'd be interesting to see where he goes. And this is somebody, again, shooter, 35% from 3 and can get up and down the floor a little bit. So be interesting to see where he lands.
Yeah, it certainly will be. And obviously a lot of these guys were once very highly recruited, right? So certainly have the potential to pop into a team and make a lot of noise depending on where they land. That will conclude our 5 newest names to enter into the portal, but the show goes on. We still have to talk about some of these key down transfers. I talked about it a little bit, or at least speculated about it with regard to Ali. There are several guys that are heading into the mid-majors or low majors ranks in order to try to expand and find their opportunity. Mike, why don't you kick us off with the first name on your list who is heading down to, or rather making a down transfer in the season to come?
Yeah, this one was, when the news broke, I was like jaw dropped here. Yohan Traore, I think I saw that he's like the 2nd highest rated recruit in Auburn basketball history. And that Auburn front court, I mean, we talked about Auburn. It felt like they just had a million guys, right? Janai Broome was there, Jalen Williams, a nice player. So just a lot of guys there. And Traore just didn't really get the minutes, right? I mean, averaged 2 points, 1.5 rebounds. So just not a lot of minutes like Jay talked about, right? We haven't quite seen him on, a big stage. And yeah, I mean, he's down transferring and commits to UC Santa Barbara, who was a tournament team last year, and took Baylor, basically 30 minutes in that game. We picked them to upset Baylor because of their guard play, and specifically Ajay Mitchell, who is coming back here. And now you pair him with with Mitchell, and this looks like a really, really good combination for head coach Joe Pasternak. Done a great job here. Like, what a recruitment. I mean, this guy's a former 5-star out of high school, just this time basically last year. And he's just physically gifted and really offensively skilled from what we saw in high school. So, I mean, this is the Big West. You know, we talked to UC Irvine coach Russ Turner there. And, he can't be thrilled that a 5-star player is headed to, the UC Santa Barbara. Obviously, this has major implications in the Big West. So what a great job by head coach Joe Pasternak.
Absolutely.
You said you said a tournament team for the Gauchos. I think what you meant to say was a tournament darling, one of the favorite upset picks as we were getting into March Madness season were the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos. Obviously get a big ad through the portal here. Jay, coming your way next, the 192nd ranked player, finding a new school, but not traveling quite that far. Tell us about who is up next on the board.
Daeshun Ruffin leaving Ole Miss and going to Jackson State. This is a guy that averaged 9.5 points and just over 3 times a game last season. When you talk about coaches doing their job and doing it well, this is a big-time get for Mo Williams. Yes, that
headband Mo Williams.
NBA All-Star Mo Williams.
Oh,
one-time champion Mo. I mean, all right, maybe he didn't play that much in that last season. But the point is, Mo Williams getting it done already in the portal, figuring it out at Jackson State, and bringing in Ruffin here. Now, last year only played 11 games due to injury. Another former McDonald's All-American. But once a McDonald's All-American, you're always a McDonald's All-American. So you carry that swag with you. 12.5 points, 3.5 assists as a freshman in the SEC. Should absolutely dominate the swag. This is a great get for Mo Williams in Jackson State.
I will personally be disappointed if Mo Williams is not wearing the headband out there with his suit, at least for his inaugural season, right? He's got a brand identity that he needs to maintain. So, Coach Williams, I also know that you're watching out there. Take my advice, sport the headband. The people will love it. Carrying on down through our down transfer list, we technically are heading into the midst of the unranked by and large, because many of these guys, while they were top prospects and highly recruited, didn't exactly get much opportunity with their former teams. Is also part of the reason why they are heading down to a new squad this season. Mike, next up, we've got Darius Maddox.
Yeah, Maddox, man. Virginia Tech showed some flashes. He's a guard, 8.5 points per game, 3 boards and an assist. He's committed to George Mason, which it felt like basically the entire George Mason squad headed over to Providence with former coach Kim English. And new coach there is Tony Skinn. He's a Maryland assistant. And he's getting the guy that can shoot the lights out of the ball. I mean, 43% from three-point range, 82% from the free throw line. You will take that all day. If he's going to get 30 to 35 minutes, these averages and his shooting pedigree, he has a chance to absolutely explode at George Mason. He's moving closer to home. He's a big guard. Former 4-star recruit. And this is kind of what we talked about. Like, we see this all the time. These guys, getting more playing time and, playing, not quite the 5 and 4-star athlete, and the guys that have progressed into stars at the Power 5 level and getting to, show off their skills. So I feel like Maddox is in for a huge season with George Mason.
Yeah, definitely will be fun to see him get some more run there with George Mason. The next player on our list, another one that is technically unranked, but comes in with a pretty solid pedigree, and that is Greg Gantt, the forward out of NC State. Another player that is leaving a team but not going far. He's staying in the friendly confines of North Carolina, heading over to UNC Asheville. He's an underrated player in terms of filling in that 4 spot. we talked about it a lot as we were heading into and covering the Big South tournament. Going to be able to play right alongside big man Drew Pember, right? He was one of our favorite players to cover and to watch as we were getting to conference tournament season, staying put there for the Bulldogs. And now Gantt is coming in and should be a pretty nice combo there in the front court, right? High motor guy, solid defender, great rebounder, obviously, like I talked about, highly recruited. So, that athleticism and that pedigree is there. And you look at him last year, 2 points a game, 4.5 rebounds. You just really wasn't getting very much run for that NC State team. So should see plenty of action on the court heading to UNC Asheville. And this is a program that at least has to be among the favorites for their conference there, the Big South. Last player on our down transfer list, Mike, close us out with Will Shaver.
Yeah, Will Shaver, he's not on our top 250, but I think he has a chance to be a major impact player at the mid-major ranks here. Going to the MVC, committed to Belmont, Jay's favorite conference here to cover. And he's a top 150 caliber high school player. He actually, during North Carolina's runner-up season, a few years ago, he was he basically skipped the second part of his high school senior year and joined the team, was able to practice with the team. And obviously North Carolina has a ton of talented players, right? Just was never able to really crack the rotation. But in high school, man, he was a really good outside shooter, a pretty good free throw shooter. So, when you look at Belmont, like one of the things Belmont's kind of known for is producing quality bigs. I mean, they had Mazinski for a few years there, and he was just such a really good player for them. Windler, who's in the NBA, yeah, so this is a really good spot, and I think that Shaver is going to be somebody that we're going to be talking about when we talk about Belmont and the Missouri Valley Conference next year. And yeah, I just think he could be in line for a breakout type year.
Certainly seems like he should be. That will do it for our down transfers. Before we move on, we've now covered 20 guys in tonight's show. We want to hear from you guys. If you're checking in on YouTube, hit the buttons, right? That part, but jump into those comments and let us know which of these down transfers are you most excited to see? Which of the guys that haven't committed yet do you think is in the best position to make a splash? Of the 10 guys that have chosen in the last few days, which ones are you most excited to see in that new uniform next season? Want to hear from you and keep that conversation going. And like I mentioned, down transfers are now in the rearview mirror, and that will just about do it for tonight's episode of One and Done. Before we get out of here, Jay, Mike, any closing thoughts on the players that we covered? Any big pieces of news that you are keeping an eye on in the coming days? What are your thoughts about this current moment in the transfer portal?
Just wanted to give my opinion on the down transfer that we discussed that I'm most excited about, and it is Ruffin, the guy I talked about earlier, going down to Jackson State. Excited to see what Mo Williams does with him. That could be a guy that we're talking very highly about as the season progresses. I'm really looking forward to that. But no, man, we're gonna keep this stuff coming. This is college basketball never sleeps, and neither do we. It seems like we sort of talked about, all right, after the season ended. Internally, I know we had a conversation about, all right, we're going to dial it back a little bit. We're going to see. And then we realized, man, we're going to be here. Yeah.
Onward.
First down. We're going to be doing it, throughout the off season. Yeah. Scott won't do it. All right. But no, man, we ain't going anywhere. We're going to be here giving these portal updates all the way until it closes. And then after that, we'll figure out another way to get everybody this information that they want. It's an exciting time. College basketball is a year-round thing now. We're not going to be stopping. So we appreciate y'all for hanging around and watching us, for contributing to us, whether that's in the comments, whether that's smashing that subscribe button, whether that's telling the hoop heads in your life about what we do. We appreciate you, and just know that we're going to be here. We're not fucking going anywhere. I said it.
We ain't leaving.
Hey, you didn't have the bleep out button ready there.
We'll get the dump button for next time.
Yeah,
Thanks.
exactly.
Thank you.
Now for me, this has been. I mean, man, we're just in the. We still got 20 days. What is it? May 11th is when it closes, and then we're still gonna have tons of decisions happening. But we've gotten a lot of commits already. So just looking up and down the board, I mean, man, like there's there's not as many guys as I thought there would be at this time of the year that are that are uncommitted. So yeah, just keep paying attention to that. We're going to update on drroto.com on my transfer big board, the top 250 there on Monday with some notes. It does refresh every day. So be on the lookout there. That's pretty cool. You click on the tab, see the guys that are committed, see the guys that are uncommitted, see their rankings, their stats from the previous year. We're bringing it to you guys, and we have loyal Marymount head coach Stan Johnson coming up on Tuesday. So look forward to talking to him, another WCC coach, as we take our great trip around the country, getting all these coaches' opinions and thoughts on their roster, the transfer portal, NIL, where they see their program in the future. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Coach Johnson also making a pretty solid splash here in the transfer portal himself. So we are excited to get his point of view on how his roster is shaping up for the year to come and his thoughts on college basketball overall. Like we said a few times, if you're checking it on YouTube, obviously hit the buttons. That part is awesome. But we really want to hear from you, right? We want to hear your opinion of these players. We want you to comment that Mike needs to expand his big board from 250 to 300 to 400 to 500, right? He will fold to this pressure. But also, as we're out here pumping out this content, as we are not fucking leaving, we want to hear from you. What type of content would be interesting, right? We're talking about the guys that are committing. We're talking about the guys that are down transferring. We're obviously talking to seemingly every coach in the land. If there's some information that you would like to see out there, let us know. We're happy to weave that into our upcoming shows. And lastly, arguably most importantly, if you are, let's say, the head basketball coach of a Big 12, soon to be SEC program, and you're looking for 8 good minutes and a solid outside jumper, look no further than our guy, Jay Heinrich. Get in those comments. We will reach out to you. Jay will suit up for you next year. So in addition to all of that portal news, all of that recruiting talk for Mr. Heinrich himself, like Mike mentioned, we'll be back on Tuesday with Loyola Marymount head coach. We'll be back not long after that, updating on all of the news around the world of college basketball and the transfer portal. His big board is being updated daily. Get to drroto.com, get yourself subscribed, check out the latest and greatest version of that big board, and then, and only then, are you able to get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.